Chapter 11. All Jack could see was a large heap of fine grayish dust lying on a purple lining. "Don't breathe," said Beth, "or it'll blow away." "What is it?" "Ashes." "Ashes?" "My parents' ashes." "What?" Jack sat back quickly. He'd never seen a dead person's ashes before. It wasn't the kind of thing he'd expected someone to carry around with them in a rucksack. Jack met Mom and Dad. Beth snapped the lid shut and pointed in turn to each of the boxes. He noticed the names were inscribed on the metal plates: Rosie Sullivan and Paul Sullivan. Underneath each of the names was a simple phrase: "Beloved parent of Beth." Shouldn't they be in a churchyard or crematorium or something? Jack's tongue seemed to have swollen to twice its normal size and had trouble fitting in his mouth. At the same time, his brain creaked into action as he tried to remember what Mom had done with his grandmother's ashes when she'd died. "Maybe, but I couldn't decide where Mom and Dad would want to be. I'm searching for the best spot to scatter them." "And you've carried them around with you all this time?" "Yep, for 2 years. I like to have them near me." "They're heavy," he said. The ashes. They're heavier than I would have thought. A dead person. How do you manage to carry them all the time?" Beth regarded him. He could have sworn with something close to pity. "You get used to it." Jack was stunned. What did you say to someone who lost both their parents at once in a tragic accident and then lugged the remains around in a rucksack? It didn't sound as if Beth was as over their deaths as she tried to make out, but then again, what did he know? He'd never lost anyone apart from his grandparents, and he hadn't been very close to them. Perhaps if his parents died, he would do exactly the same thing. "You think I'm mad, don't you?" Beth closed the lid and stroked her hand across the top of the box. "No, no." Jack scoured his brain for words to describe what he was feeling. "It's just not what I expected. To be honest, I'm relieved. After what I've been imagining, carrying your dead parents' ashes around with you isn't that bad." The last remark came out in kind of a high-pitched squeak. "I don't usually tell people what's in the bag in case they freak out." At least he'd managed not to do that. He watched as Beth struggled to put the hefty makeshift urns back into the bag and then zipped it up again. "I did think you were mad last night." "Yes, sorry, I was upset," Beth admitted, smiling. "Anyway, I'm glad I've shown you, and I've got no more secrets now, I promise." "When will you know you've found the right spot?" Jack gestured towards the bag. "To scatter them." "I'll know it when I see it," said Beth as she got to her feet again. "Come on, we've got some investigating to do at the library." Jack stood up quickly, the ever present itch on his hand a reminder of why they were there. The problem was more and more pieces were being added to the puzzle, but none of them fitted together. Nothing made sense. Then something clicked in his brain. Something Ted had said. What was it? About spies? "They've got spies everywhere? Your neighbor?" Jack stopped abruptly and by the cafe door. Mrs. Roberts. She was always snooping. Could it really have been her at the bus station? Was it possible she was a spy? He almost laughed out loud at the thought, and yet Beth nudged him. "Come on, let's go." He gave himself a little shake. He had to snap out of this or he'd be getting suspicious of everyone and everything. He'd speak to Beth later about the whole spy thing. For the moment, he had to focus on looking for Dad, and at least keeping busy meant he wasn't dwelling so much on his worsening skin. There were so many unanswered questions. He wondered how anything Ted had told them could lead to Dad, but it was the one clue they had, and he couldn't think of what else to do.